As a kid, I loved video games. Any video game would do. You would see me get my butt whooped on Halo or playing the Tick on the Super Nintendo. It didn't matter how hard or how easy, how girly or how epic. If you had a game, I played it and I loved it. As an adult still playing video games, however, my interests have been much more refined. Now I'm more careful and dubious when developers release brand new games. Most of the games nowadays have strings attached to them. Like, take Destiny for example. I loved this game when it first came out and played it to death. This was the game that finally made me pull out my wallet and buy the stupid Xbox Live subscription. And vanilla Destiny was fun and cool. I love looting and shooting, surviving hordes of enemies, and working together with friends or strangers to complete an objective. That's my cup of tea. But what kept nagging me in the back of my mind is how much money I'm paying for this game. If you're under 16 and watching this video, you may not know this, but the way games used to work is you would go to Blockbuster, pick out your game, hand the man some money, and then go home and play it. That was it. A one-time transaction and you had hours of fun ahead of you. Nowadays, you go on the online store, pay with a credit card, wait 10 years for the game to download, then you find out you need Xbox Live, so you buy that, and then you had fun with the game for about 6 months, and then they roll out this new DLC and lock down large portions of the game until you buy that DLC, which could be anywhere from half the price of the game to the full price of the game. Destiny 1 was $60 to buy. Then they had two $20 DLCs. Then they had two $40 DLCs, all within the span of 3 years, and all the while you're paying $5 to $10 a month for a subscription just to play one game. This is what you've ultimately paid to play one game. And it's not even worth it because you will never play the vanilla parts of the game again, so that $60 beginning is nullified when the first DLC comes out. Then the next, then the next, then the next. This has really frustrated myself and my wallet when trying to play games with friends. Then I got a PC and my life changed forever. It's an official law that if you get a PC, you get Steam on it. And let me tell you, Steam has saved my wallet's life. While they do release AAA titles, most of the games on Steam are indie games, and Steam is always having a sale. So if you see a game you like, put it in your wish list and chances are in a couple weeks that game will be on sale. Even so, indie games are usually cheap, like $20 or less. And it's not just the prices that make me love indie games. No. It's the developers I like. Indie games are games created by independent developers. These are people who spend their free time to make games based off of successful games that they love. They don't make these soulless, cash-grabbing, empty games. They make games with passion and humor and charm, and they know what makes a game good and enjoyable. Since getting a PC, I've played my fair share of indie games, so I want to show you guys my top 10 games that didn't come from Microsoft or Nintendo or Sony or Sega or anything like that. Number 10, Sonic Mania, baby. That's how you know I ain't messing around. Hold up. Wait a minute, mama. Sonic is Sega, and Sega is not indie. Well, Sonic Mania counts, and I'll tell you why. We all know that Sonic has really been struggling to come up with some good games.
Oh yeah! This could be fun!
Probably not. We've had a lot of bad games, some weird games, some of them just why would you do that kind of games, and I think that our recent Sonic games have made us forget that Sonic was actually good back in the day. So Sega did something crazy. Instead of being little pansies and trying to fix it themselves, they found these Sonic fan game makers and gave them the rights to make a new Sonic game. And I think the results speak for themselves. This game made me actually like Sonic, which is weird because I've never liked Sonic games, even when they were good. But the more I played this game, the more fun I had. You know, until I reached this stupid butt boss.
Come on, what the heck? I can't hit this guy. Look at that, I just get pushed down. Oh my gosh. I can't even reach him.
This game is very reminiscent of Sonic's golden days, but at the same time it still stands out with its added mechanics and maps. If you're a Sonic fan, you need help. But if you haven't played this game, you're a traitor to the Blue Hedgehog. I don't know who came up with this idea, but they deserve a standing ovation because I love this game. It's not the most challenging game you'll ever play, but it does lend itself to be a good experience I can easily recommend to anyone. The platforming is mostly straightforward, but there are also a lot of original mechanics to make the game interesting. For my money though, the boss fights is what makes this game so much fun. This is where the game goes from, oh, yeah, you know, this is a nice game.
What the flip? What in the world? What did it? How did it? Oh my gosh!
Your average boss in this game is some large to medium-sized hitbox filling the screen with projectiles and throwing out hitboxes the size of the room. I don't know how Yacht Club made this balanced, but they did it. These are not your traditional dodge attacks, hit weaknesses, rinse and repeat bosses. It's much more like a mano-a-mano duel where you're at a tough but doable disadvantage. If you have the bouncy ball though, you kinda just win. I mean, look how many times the ball hits this boss. And then check out this setup. I'm like, throw the ball, okay, charge up the attack, bop it.
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
Since the days of the N64, everyone has tried to make their own Smash Bros. Type game, and there have been many, but I think the one that encapsulates Smash the most is Slap City. Smash is at its best when played with friends who have no idea how to play and are just beating the snot out of each other. Slap City embodies that cartoonish, unserious fun where you guys don't really fight, rather it's a slap fest and you're just laughing at how goofy the game is. The controls are a lot like Melee, but the characters and stages are so unique and gimmicky that it's hard to play this game without smiling.
Come here, come here. Yeah, that's right. You're coming with me, you stupid duck. No, not up here, up here. And you are hereby banished from Duck Game. Goodbye, you stupid mallard.
The list of good co-op games is very short, so when someone makes a good co-op game, they're already at a huge advantage because you've got nowhere to go but up. And there have been a handful of good co-op games, but I think Overcooked stands at the top of them all. The premise is easy to understand and the controls are simple, but the game is flipping hard. You wouldn't think that a 2-button game could be this hard, but it is. This is not a game where you can just assign people one job and then stick to it like some factory line because there are just too many things to do. The game works best when everyone has some semblance of what's going on and is flexible and alert enough to stay on top of the orders.
Onion or tomato.
No, you do triple tomato.
You
I'm
do
doing
triple
triple
tomato,
onion.
man? Dude, someone get that thing!
Put on this plate. Put on this plate.
Watch
Give
your
the plate.
soup, man. Watch
Go.
your soup. Doing Campbell's tomato soup here, ladies and gentlemen. I need a plate!
I
Man,
gotta wash
wash the plate!
Wash the plate. You
Wash
gotta
the
get out of my way.
The thing that makes it the best co-op game ever is that it forges synergy between people. This game is so hard that eventually you will all get frustrated, and it's in times like those where you will either kill each other or your friendship will get stronger. And the more you conquer in the game, the more you realize just how capable you really are at working together.
Move.
Bro,
you shit.
wait, how did you get that over there?
Give me a plate. I need a plate. Quick, 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 quick,
Get a
quick,
plate.
quick. Give me a plate. Here.
Wait, what just
Put
happened?
it on the plate. Put it on a plate.
I don't know how!
Get a plate and
What the frick, dude?
there's a plate.
Put the plate
between
down.
the
Okay,
burgers.
just go, just go.
Why did
No,
you not
put
give
it on
to
the
me?
counter. Who is that?
Frick.
Freaking me, because you guys don't do anything in this kitchen.
Are you freaking kidding me?
I'm literally the only one doing
Stopped
anything.
Everything.
Caleb is the only one not doing anything because he put all those stuff over there.
I
Get
know,
tomato.
he just threw a bunch
Caleb,
of food
get
all
me a
over the
tomato.
ground.
Earlier I mentioned Slap City was the most like Smash Bros, but my favorite Smash spin-off game is Rivals of Aether. Seriously, this game is amazing. It is so much fun. It's inspired by the greatest 2D platform fighter ever, but it's still so unique and different that it's just a brand new game. The controls take a little bit to get used to, but once you do, you start pulling off these ridiculous combos. I mean, just look at these. Come on, man. How you not want to be playing this game right now and just stomping on your enemies? Enter the Gungeon is simply the hardest game I've never beaten. I've put plenty of hours into it and yet still can't seem to beat it. And although the game infuriates me, I constantly find myself playing it once again. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's frustrating, but it's also really fun. In my experience, Mario has been the king of 3D platformers, and Odyssey keeps him there for sure. But A Hat in Time is one of those games that snatched my heart away while I wasn't looking. I usually play games with a critical attitude, but the moment I loaded up the title screen and heard I got goosebumps all over my arms and I fell in love with this game. It's not perfect, it's got some quirks to it, but this game is so easily in my top 10 indie games list. The premise is like Mario Galaxy, except you're collecting timepieces instead of stars. The first place you go is Mafia Town, and can I just say this about it? Holy flip-flop. I spent the first 90 minutes of the game exploring Mafia Town, and yet for all of that, I still barely scratched the surface of it. The thing is that Mafia Town isn't that big, but there's so much packed into it, it's easy to miss things. And there were so many collectibles, and not the cheap, irrelevant kind either. You either found money or yarn, which, by the way, yarn is used to make more hats, which will give you an ability and allow you to find more yarn so you can make another hat for another ability so you can find more yarn. Do you see what I'm saying here? As you progress through the game, it does get more linear and restrictive, but it's still a lot of fun. Until you get about here. This is where the game suddenly dropped for me. It's not because this chapter got bad. I mean, it's actually kind of fun. It just changed pace so rapidly. One minute you're jumping around in charming Mafia Town, the next minute you're creeping around a haunted mansion with your abilities stripped away. It's like if you were playing Odyssey, right? Jumping around like a frog, smashing things as a chain chomp, playing as a T-Rex, and then suddenly somebody switches the input and now you're playing Luigi's Mansion. By themselves, they're great games, but trying to combine them just doesn't really work. Also, this game taught me a new word. Palpable. Do you know what that word means? Don't bother Googling it, I'll just show you what it means.
Hello? Is anybody there? I have a package for Mrs. Bagul. Is she here? Can you feel me near you? Oh, what the flip was? Oh, flip. Are you? Is that Miss Bagul? I have a package for you. I brought it to. Oh my gosh! Save me, Mario Odyssey.
If you can get past the haunted chapter, the game is really good. The controls are tight and mostly reliable, the platforming is satisfying, and this game has no problem bringing these oddball levels.
The lava cake? What the flip is a lava cake? That sounds so. That level was amazing. Holy flip-flop.
With lovable characters and captivating music, this is a game I could play over and over again. You know, if I could just skip this stupid part. I recently picked Celeste back up to try and beat the B-sides of each level, and I finally discovered that Matt Makes Games is evil. It's the only logical explanation for making these soul-crushing, will-breaking, mind-melting, ridiculous levels. The A-sides had their own challenges, but nothing like this. Some levels you just look at and even the game is like, yeah, that's impossible. And there were times for sure when I just wanted to give up and cry on the floor. But there was this constant thought in the back of my mind like, so I kept trying and dying until finally I beat level 1. There are 2 reasons why this game is number 2 on my list. The first is that this game is fun and satisfying with razor-tight controls and incredible level design. I love this game. But the main reason why this game rates so high is how it makes you feel when you beat it. Madeline has no experience climbing a mountain and yet tackles it anyways as she comes face to face with her own shortcomings and doubts. Likewise, the difficulty of this game makes your efforts seem inadequate and it magnifies your shortcomings. But once you manage to beat that one screen after about 70 deaths, your confidence rises slightly and you realize that you can do more than you thought you could. Then you die 200 times on the next screen, but it doesn't matter because you beat it, and that's the point, and your confidence rises again. When you finally reach that crystal heart at the end of the level, you feel like you've just conquered a mountain and you're looking for the next one so you can go kick its butt.
Alright, who next?
By the end, you start wearing your deaths like medals because you realize that even though you died almost 1,000 times beating one level, that is not a joke. That is real. All that matters is that you did it. The more deaths you have, the greater that sense of accomplishment is. You start telling your friends about how hard the game is and that you died hundreds of times, but you did it. And when you beat that last B-side, you realize you've just climbed a mountain you thought was too high, you beat that part you thought was impossible, and you endured through it all and have come out a better gamer and a stronger person because of it. The B-sides are the ultimate mountain peak, and... oh, wait, what? There are C-sides? Here we go again. RPGs are some of the most boring games I have ever played, and I hate most of them. So when I tell you that Undertale, a JRPG with heavy dialogue and turn-based combat, is my all-time favorite indie game, that should tell you something about how good this game really is. Undertale perfectly encapsulates everything I like about indie games into one incredible game. Indie games tend to be unconventional despite being inspired by popular games. They just take a good game idea to the next level and challenge your assumptions on what makes a game good. They aren't these soulless, cash-grabbing, rushed and flushed pieces of poo-poo that a lot of developers are making nowadays. These games are born out of the love of video games and come across as deeply personal projects. When I play these games, I feel like I get a glimpse of the developer's personality within the gameplay, and Undertale portrays that the best. I love everything about the game. The combat, the dialogue, the characters, the puzzles, the story, the charm, the humor, the graphic style, and, of course, the music. The music is what pushes this game all the way to the top. Undertale is the most unique game I have ever played, and this is its soundtrack.